All right, so good evening, venerable brothers and sisters of the Dhamma. So tonight we are carrying on the second part and also the last part of the session for this series. It's on the four sublime states. So last week we covered on the four sublime states. So and today we are continuing with this Karaniya Metta Sutta, the instructions given by the Buddha. So we chanted this earlier, right before I shared my screen, and this particular chant, this particular sutta, has some kind of pretext. Before the Buddha gave this discourse, it is believed that this story of a group of monks who are meditating in a forest, and somehow the tree spirits, or the spirits in that particular region, somehow they are very territorial, so they are not friendly to or not welcoming to these monks. So when they were meditating at night, then these spirits manifest as scary images and sort of chased away or scared away the monks. So the monks went back to the Buddha and reported to the Buddha what happened and asked the Buddha what to do. So the Buddha taught them this sutta. So after they went back to that place and they sort of practiced this metta sutta per instructions, the spirits were at peace with the monks and they sort of let them meditate in peace. So that's the story. And because of this pretext, a lot of times most Buddhists, I would say, would take it out of context and they would treat this as exorcism chant. Exorcism chant, because whenever they think there's some spirit problem, some spirit harass them, or people think a spirit possessed them, they will chant this Karaniya Metta Sutta, which may or may not work depending on the situation. But the whole idea of this chant is not sort of not really like a spell, not like an incantation where you chant and the spirit will go away. It's just like, for example, and this, or some people would think chanting this many times, then it will help you cultivate loving kindness, which may or may not be true. For example, if let's say there is a patient, the patient is sick and they see a doctor, right? They see a doctor, and this doctor would prescribe some medication or give some instructions to the patient, and imagine the doctor don't speak the language of the patient, so the doctor will recite in some language which you do not understand. So you copy down or record down in a tape recorder. So when you go back home with the medication, you don't take the medication, you just play the tape and you just repeat the chant after what the doctor has instructed, because you don't understand the language, so you just chant and chant and chant. So by doing so, do you think the patient will recover? May or may not recover, but most probably won't recover. So that's the issue now. So even if a person were to understand the instructions, let's say that the doctor give instruction, take this pill 3 times a day, 1 pill each time, for example. So this patient bring back home the prescription and they start chanting, okay, take this pill 3 times a day, 1 pill each time. So they keep chanting and chanting and chanting, but they don't take the pill. So this is what happened with the chants now. So this sutta is actually an instruction. There's actually some steps you need to follow in order to be successful in the cultivation of metta. Right? It's not for chanting's sake. Okay, so I shall briefly go through. We have already chanted, so now it's more on the English sort of translation. Okay, so the first paragraph will talk about, I'll just read through. He who is skilled in working out his own well-being and who wishes to attain the state of calm should act thus. Okay, so the one bracketed in blue is my own wording. The one in black is from the scripture which I sort of copied. Okay, so that is called right view. That is part of the Eightfold Path. So the whole sutta will actually lay out the Noble Eightfold Path for us. So I shall sort of indicate for the audience to refer easily. Okay, so what is this right view? Right, so a person practice not for purifying oneself, not to overcome suffering, not to overcome stress. They do this to chase out goals or to improve their business, get more customers, or maybe get a boyfriend or girlfriend. Then this is not the right view. Okay, so the whole idea of metta is to overcome aversion, overcome anger. All right, so further instructions, I carry on. He should be dexterous, upright, exceedingly upright, or double, upright not enough, must be exceedingly upright, obedient, gentle, and humble. So this part of this sila, which is this right speech, right action, right livelihood. So if a person is not just displaying good behavior, but also the character, all these virtues, which I don't think I need to explain in detail. This one we'll leave it to your parents or the school character education to elaborate in detail for many years. So this is just a brief summary. A person need to have good this conduct as well. Yeah, so a person cannot say, okay, I want nibbana, but then I still kill and steal and tell lies and stuff like that. So earlier on we chanted the 5 precepts. So that is the basic for a layperson. Yeah, basic for a layperson. So in short, avoid killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, telling lies, and this taking of intoxicants. Okay. Then we move on. Right livelihood. Contented, easily supportable, with but few responsibilities, of simple livelihood. So the first portion of simple livelihood is mainly for monastics. How many of you are still working here? Yeah, most people are still working. If let's say you are still schooling, for example, or still or retired, not working, and you sort of rely on handouts, then it is important to be easily supportable. So again, the context of this talk, the audience are the monks. So the Buddha is asking the monks to be easily supportable, because the monks, we don't earn a salary, so whatever we get are from the alms food, donations from the lay supporters, right? So we are not supposed to be demanding, I want this, I want that, then be problematic. So easily supportable, must be contented with whatever you have, with the basic necessities. Don't ask for anything too luxurious. Okay, down here, few responsibilities. So this one is, if a person want to excel in meditation, they need to start off with few responsibilities. Because if there's too much going on, then it's very hard to manage the mind. Yeah, unless you're very skilled, then it's a different story. But for most people, it's good to start off with few duties, few responsibilities. So that's why people need to go for a break, go for a retreat, And in the retreat, they're able to quiet down. But once they go back to their normal working life, then everything back to square one. So shows that the state of peace is still not well anchored. Right? So we start off with few responsibilities, and along the way, not just layperson, even for monastics, as the monks supposedly get more senior, they get more and more responsibilities. They need to maybe look after a certain part of the monastery or certain organizations. They need to be advisor or trustee or whatever it is, or part of the management. And there's more and more responsibilities. All right. So, but if a person is sort of like a new monk or beginning practitioner, they should spend more time with the groundwork, with the foundation. So once they are more familiar, they can extend out to their simple chores. Even let's say doing housework, they are still able to maintain the peace, and then they extend to more tasks and maintain the peace. Then you slowly sort of add on a bit like weight training, resistant training, so you get more and more stronger. Of simple livelihood, yeah. So for the monastics, it's very simple, but for a lay person, basically what it means, honest livelihood. Honest livelihood. So the definition of honest livelihood would be avoid 5 kinds of trade. Avoid this trading of weaponry, number 1. This poison, trading of living beings, like human trafficking, animal trafficking, trading of meat, interestingly, trading of meat. And number 5, trading of these intoxicants. Yeah, so these are the 5 kinds of trade, at least in the Buddha's time. So in the modern day, maybe there's more inventions. Anything that you think is harmful, please try not to get into that trade. Okay, so that is simple livelihood or honest kind of livelihood. So for the monastics, there's even more. I don't want to mention things like we try not to get involved with a lot of those like catching ghosts, fortune telling, stuff like that. So there's a lot in the monastics kind of code. Okay, control in these senses. Okay, so this one is a very high level practice. Control in senses, that means sense restraint. That means whatever we see, hear, smell, think, taste, and touch, we do not react with greed and anger. That is control in senses. So it's very high level stuff, but looks very simple. So if a person cannot mentally not react to these sense stimuli, one way is to avoid. One way is to avoid. So a lot of the monastic rules, including avoid, not just for a preceptor, not just entertainment, like for even in meditation conditions and monastic rules, we have like casting the eyes downwards. So sometimes you look at Buddha statues, the Buddha is gazing downwards, gazing 45 degrees downwards. You don't see the Buddha looking up and looking all around. Wow, okay. No, because once you sort of have more contact with more visual forms, there's a higher tendency, to want to react. So the idea of the training is to have less contact, so it's easier to handle. So this is controlling the senses, eating simply, having more restraint in your activities. We don't, let's say, go out unnecessarily and stuff like that. So we have a lot of these protocols. Okay, and prudent, become simple, courteous, and not hanker after association with families. Okay, so this one is basically for monastic not to pester after lay persons, because they are supposedly the donors of the monastics. And if we keep chasing them, okay, I want this, I want a new robe, I want a new phone, knew something. So that is hanker after families. Okay, let him not perform the slightest wrong for which wise man may rebuke him. Okay, so basically your precepts, try to uphold it as much as possible. Because once you are too loose, then there's a chance, right? You take one inch, then next moment you want to go further and take 1 meter. So again, different traditions have different interpretation of the rules. Even in Theravada, we also have these 4 great standards. So there are some like flexibilities. A lot depends on the intention and the circumstances, whether the society finds it acceptable or not. And I will not go into detail. There will be a long talk on precepts. So I just move on. Okay, next one is the actual execution. Actual execution of the meditation itself. May all beings be happy and safe. May they have happy minds. So this is right thought. Right thought. So from the sutta's point of view, it's straight away may all beings. So you never find it may I be well and happy, then followed by may my parents be well and happy, or may my friends be well and happy. So that one is more like a later invention. It's added much later. Sometimes you may find some of those in the chanting books also, but that's not the original sutta's instruction. So the original instruction would be may all beings be happy. So straight away all beings. You start off with boundless kind of concept. You don't sort of stereotype or discriminate first. Okay, and whatever living beings there may be, feeble or strong, right? So they are defining what are these all sentient beings. So all beings can be feeble or strong spiritually, those who are still seeking the truth, those who have realized the truth, or some may take it literally physical strength, long, stout, medium size, short, small, large, right, seen or unseen, those dwelling far or near, those who are born as well as those yet to be born. Right? May all beings have happy minds. So they are defining what are all the sentient beings. So in our routine, we don't really do much visualization. And there's no way to visualize unseen beings, right? How to visualize unseen beings. And now all the different species, sometimes I even have difficulty to visualize maybe one class. In, let's say, in my secondary school or primary school, I can't even visualize all my 40 classmates. So it's a bit tough already. So imagining visualizing all sentient beings is a bit tough. So we try to extend the mind, right? And we perceive these sentient beings as all the aggregates. Okay, let him not deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. In anger or ill will, let him not wish another ill. Okay, so this is part of this right effort. So just as a mother would protect her only child with her life, even so let one cultivate a boundless love towards all beings. So if a person were to maintain this sort of unconditional love to wish all beings well, right, and not let unwholesome thoughts arise, then this is part of right effort. So right effort, there are 4 kinds of right effort. If there is unskillful thoughts arise, thoughts like anger, then you try to remove them. So that's the first right effort. And if unwholesome thoughts haven't arise, do not let them arise. So this is number 2. Number 3 is if you do not have wholesome thoughts, like loving kindness, please generate them. That means create these wholesome thoughts. And number 4, if you already have wholesome thoughts, then you need to maintain and further perfect them. So this is part of right effort. And this one again subject to interpretation. Some people will think loving kindness is mother's love. How many of you are mothers here? Yeah, we have a few. But then again, not everyone are mothers, so we may not know what is mother's love. And of course, the audience over here is not a mother. They are monks, yeah, they're male. So this analogy would, another interpretation would be to hold on to this thought of this loving kindness, like holding a child. Yeah, so do not let go of the child. That means do not let go of this thought of wishing all beings well and happy. So that is another interpretation which makes more sense to me. But again, you may try mother's love. But if you still can get angry to your child, then may not be so unconditional after all, right? So this is another take on it. Okay, and the next part, yeah, let him radiate boundless love towards the entire world, above, below, and across, unhindered, without ill will, without enmity. Okay, so the practice of wishing all beings in all directions well and happy will lead to concentrative states. So I shall talk about that more later. It's part of right concentration. They are called the jhanas in Pali language. And the next one, standing, walking, sitting, or reclining. That means when you're lying down, as long as you are awake. So this is a keyword, as long as you're awake. So if you are lying down and let's say you're going to sleep, please sleep. Do not say, okay, I want to overcome this sleepiness. Then you keep on meditating, then you cannot sleep, then you have a problem. So this is as long as you are awake, then you need to maintain this mindfulness. Let him develop this mindfulness. This, they say, is noble living here. So it's called part of right mindfulness. So this is called mindfulness of all postures. In this right mindfulness, there are these 4 foundations. The first one being mindfulness of the body, second, mindfulness of the feelings, third, mindfulness of the states of mind, and number 4, mindfulness of the dharma or the phenomenon. So the standing, walking, sitting is part of mindfulness of the body. So whatever physical action we are doing, we can still generate these good thoughts. So some people think meditation is just sitting only. After you stand up, then everything back to square one, right? Which is not true, right? So meditation is a whole day affair. As long as you're sitting, you still can generate unwholesome thought. A person can sit, can daydream, can curse and swear in their mind. So that's for sitting, right? So if we're standing, also the same. So, but if we can sit down and generate goodwill, loving kindness, we can also stand and do our chores, do our tasks with this wholesome state of mind. It's just like sometimes we may or may not, we may ourselves or know of somebody who are, let's say, grumpy the whole day or angry the whole day or upset the whole day. So we are just doing the opposite. We are doing this well-wishing, this goodwill, loving kindness the whole day. So this is part of the training. Okay, and eventually the last paragraph, not falling into wrong views, being virtuous, endowed with insight, last in the senses discarded, verily never again will he return to conceive in a womb. So that's like liberation. So that is the Karaniya Metta Sutta. So in the Thai tradition, sometimes we chant just the last paragraph only. Metancha sabalokas min manasambhave aparimanang. So we chant the last paragraph only for the Thai tradition when we do house blessing. So they shortcut. So even though we chant this, a lot of the practitioners don't believe metta can reach liberation. So I'm very surprised. They chant, but they don't believe what they're chanting. So anyway, this is just a table to sort of give you like a bit of the KPI in Buddhism. What is called this won't return to the womb. So there are a few possibilities. If let's say a person is not enlightened, so if a person is enlightened, right, the rebirth is supposedly none, they won't get reborn again. So if let's say they haven't reached full enlightenment, and this arahanthood, they have this like non-returner, Chinese easy, 一国、二国、三国、四国, 罗汉, so easy to say, but English and Pali is longer terminology. So if a person is, let's say, a non-returner, they get back once. Once returner also get back once, get reborn once as human, and stream enterer 7 times, maximum 7 times. So in the middle column are all the supposedly defilements, the kind of hindrances or the defilements you need to overcome. So to be enlightened, not easy. You need to get rid of all these things or remove all these things, right? So a person is, let's say, very restless in meditation. The mind run here, run there. That are very normal. You need to be fully enlightened to overcome restlessness. So if your mind still running here and there, then you tell people, my mind always run here, run there like a monkey, not suitable for meditation, so I give up. So please don't give up. It's part of the training, right? Only enlightened person won't have a monkey mind. So if your mind is still running, that means still have room for improvement. Yeah. So that is the sort of the factors and the stages of practice. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next slide. Any questions at the moment? Anybody confused or stunted?
Yeah, Bante, this is Jill. I have a question. Yeah,
okay.
I'm not too sure on this. Okay, there's a once returner where there's a bracket 3, which is under the righteous attachment. What does that mean?
Okay, so you can ignore this number 3 bracket down there. Okay, so for the 1, 2, 3, okay, for stream enterer, they'll overcome these first 3 things. That means first they overcome the doubt. That means they see the truth, able to experience the Dhamma, the Four Noble Truth. Once they give up or rather reduce this craving to a certain extent, then they will experience the peace or happiness of this spiritual kind of happiness. Yeah? Experience some Dhamma kind of happiness. So they overcome the doubt. That means they know, okay, this is true spiritual happiness. Before that, they will think, okay, this Four Noble Truth is just theory. So once they experience this, then they won't rely on this identity view and ritual attachment for happiness. So for example, identity view. For example, let's say I identify myself as a soccer fan. Example. So I need to watch this soccer match to be happy, or I need to wear this because I'm a soccer fan. I need to wear this certain team's sports shirt to be happy. I need to go out and play soccer to be happy, for example. So once you identify yourself with a view, then you have these rituals accompanied with this particular identity. Like playing soccer or watching soccer match. So same thing, if you identify yourself as Chinese, example, then you may have certain rituals associated for being Chinese. Chinese New Year, you need to do certain things, or dumpling festival, you need to do certain things. And these are things you need to do to be happy. So if let's say you somehow you didn't do these activities, or somebody interrupt this sort of your ritual, then you get very upset. But if a person has overcome this, then if they never do, also never mind long, it's okay. They take it easy, right? So because they have another source of happiness, they overcome this doubt, and they experience the happiness of the Dhamma. So that's for stream enterers. So once returner will reduce 4 and 5. So once returner will reduce sensual desire and ill will to a greater extent. So that's for once returner. So only a non-returner will overcome this thing. All right, does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, thank you very much. Yeah, indeed,
Okay.
it's very clear. Thank you.
All right. Okay, anyone else before I...
But they have a question.
Yeah.
Actually, can you, Mate, can you tell me what is the real, a very obvious difference between concentration and mindfulness? Because I always mix the two of them up.
Okay, so mindfulness can, okay, concentration, sometimes it's got to do with translation. Actually, the more proper translation would be stillness. Stillness. Yeah, a person can concentrate and focus on a screen, or focus on, let's say a video game. They focus on the crosshairs and they kill and stuff like that. Lots of craving and hatred. That's not the real kind of concentration. So that is also concentration, but it doesn't lead to stillness. The mind, lots of craving, lots of anger, and stuff like that, right? But the samadhi here we want to talk about is calming of the craving, calming of this desire. So there can be a forced kind of calm, which is let's say purely jhanic kind of calm, and the mindfulness, if let's say through wisdom, through detachment, it can also lead to calm. So there are both ways to lead to concentration or this calmness. All right.
So actually both are the same.
Both are needed. Both are needed. Okay, for example, if this mindfulness or right mindfulness is a necessity for liberation, whereas the right concentration may be considered more of a bit of a luxury, although it's good to have. But if let's say for whatever reason some practitioners may not have the chance or opportunity to learn that particular Dhamma door, they may not enter this jhanic kind of samadhi. All right. Okay. So I shall move on to the
Bhante,
next.
there's a question in the Zoom chat. So the question reads, Bhante, how about for those who hold professional roles, for example, doctors or therapists, is it difficult for them to get enlightened?
Wow, they have more chance to practice this loving kindness and compassion. Yeah, so again, it's up to individual. I would say case by case basis, how much right effort you put in, how much right view, right thought. Yeah, at least they are honest livelihood. Yeah? So that's not too bad. And they're also considered noble livelihood, you save lives. Okay, so I move on. Okay. Okay, so now it's about a bit more metaphysical, no? For sublime states with regard to maybe rebirth or the next life, afterlife, whatever you want to call it. So on the left diagram is like the full spectrum, the 31 planes of existence. Now some people categorize samsara into the 3 worlds, 5 realms, 6 realms, 31 realms. So this is the more detailed spectrum, 31 realms. So To give you an idea what this is about, human is number 5. You can look at my arrow. Human is this realm. Anything below human, you have the hell, the animals, the ghosts, and the asuras, something like demons. So these are like the considered to be like the lower than human state, and anything above human are the heavenly realms. Heavenly realms. So the one in pink, these are the desire world, no, desire heavenly realms. So these are the heavenly beings that doesn't require samadhi, doesn't require concentration, no, to go there. You just be a good person, and voila, you can just end up in these heavenly realms. And these, the ones in blue and above, these are the form worlds, and the one in orange is the formless worlds. These are the realms which require some degree of concentration or the jhanas in order to be reborn there. So these are the different worlds. So if I zoom in the ones in blue on the right, so you can have a rough idea the different levels of concentration. So if a person enters the first jhana, first level of concentration, these are the possible venues they can get reborn into. And the second level of concentration, these are the different realms, third and the fourth. So earlier on we talked about the non-returner, and these are the realms, special reserved place for them, 23 on to 27, yeah? So these are the Sudavasa, pure abodes. Not to be confused with Pure Land, might be the quite similar concept of Pure Land, but this is the whole idea of this pure abode. You get reborn there and you get enlightenment from there straight away. So this is the idea of Pure Land, pure abode, sorry. Okay, and I shall move on to the so-called practice which leads to these states of mind or these states of rebirth. Okay, so we can look at the one case study, this Metta Sutta and Anguttara Nikaya 4.125. Not the same one that we chanted, is a different Metta Sutta. The one we chanted is Karaniya Metta Sutta, very long name. So this one is just Metta Sutta. Okay, so if a person were to practice loving kindness or goodwill in a boundless fashion, and if they pass away, he will be reborn in the Devas or Brahma's retinue. So you can see from this diagram, where's the Brahma's retinue? So it's down here, number 12. The first of the blue one, so it's the first jhana plane. So how long is the lifespan? Let me see, around maybe one Mahakalpa around this area. Okay, so I'll talk about Mahakalpa later. Okay, then this, if let's say a person practice compassion, then they will be reborn in this Abhasara Devas. So where is this Abhasara Devas? So we know Abhasara is in this second level of concentration, number 17. Abhasara Devas, Devas of streaming radiance. So this is for compassion. Yeah, for compassion. Compassion and Abhasara Devas. So you can see the jump. So you do loving kindness is the first level concentration, compassion will be the second level. So similarly for appreciative joy, Subha Kinha Devas. So where is this Subha Kinha Devas? Subha Kinha is this one, number 20. Right? So Subha Kinha is at the third jhana plane. So you can see the numbers getting bigger over here. And if a person were to practice equanimity, then they'll be reborn in this Vehapala Devas. So where is this Vehapala Devas? So it's number 21. So in the fourth jhana plane. So again, this chart is just, I won't say the numbers are accurate, the sutta will give a different number, but there's still the term mentioned, eons or Mahakalpa. So one Mahakalpa, the Buddha give an example. imagine, they say, Mount Sumeru. You just imagine Mount Everest. Imagine like a very huge mountain. Say, imagine every 100 years, one person will pass by, take a silk cloth and rub against the mountain once, and they walk away. Every 100 years, take a soft silk cloth, rub the mountain once, and walk away. And by the time the mountain wear down, that is still not yet one kalpa, one mahakalpa. Yeah, so this is how long is one mahakalpa. It's immeasurably long. That's like one universe cycle. So that is the Buddha's analogy of one mahakalpa. So imagine if a person is like, wow, 500 mahakalpas. I do not know how they measure, so it's very long. So if you are reborn in these heavens, your lifespan is so long that you can do whatever you want. But again, at least in Buddhist theory, all of us have been in samsara for a very, very long time. We have been up and down the snake and ladder game for a long, long time also. We've been up and down the chart for our most part before. So time again is very subjective. Okay, and that is for just jhana, if a person were to practice concentration alone. So now we talk about what you call mindfulness or this vipassana. So part of this right mindfulness, there's this mindfulness of the Dhamma, mindfulness of phenomenon. One of them include the 7 factors of enlightenment. Right, so these 4 sublime states can practice in accordance with these 7 factors of awakening. Right, so if a person were to practice, for example, loving kindness, depending on seclusion, dependent on dispassion, dependent on cessation, resulting in letting go. So once they give up detachment, give up craving to a certain extent, they will need to again further, how do you call this, analyze or investigate the Dhamma. That means investigate impermanence, any aspect of the Dhamma. It can be emptiness, non-self, whatever it is. So investigate until, what do you call it? You have persistence. That means you keep on applying right effort. You do not give up. You do not stop. A lot of times when people, let's say, attend a talk, then the lecturer or the speaker will say something that you find it meaningful or logical, then you go, yeah, makes sense. So there's a few seconds of agreement. You have a few seconds of right thought, but no persistence. You don't continue. It's like olden days, like how ancient cavemen, how they start a fire. Imagine they need to rub these dry sticks to start a fire. So imagine they just rub once. You can't start a fire. You need to have persistence. You keep rubbing until something happens. Until you see smoke, or you see some sparks, or see some flame. So this spark is this rapture. So if a person were to recollect on this loving kindness or impermanence, whatever you want to reflect, you need to do it for a certain time until joy arises. So this joy is a natural result of the first 3. You cannot fake out this joy. I cannot straight start off, okay, I want joy, then that's not the actual thing. So you need to practice this right reflection for a certain duration before this rapture will appear as a factor of awakening, followed by serenity. So this rapture again will dissipate over time. Nothing is permanent. But this thing you try to maintain is not trying to say, okay, this is impermanent, then you give up. No. These first 3 you need to maintain. And what will happen is serenity will occur. The mind will find peace. And this peace, hold on, my battery is running low. Okay, then this peace will result in concentration. So earlier on, Louis is asking about concentration. So this is a vipassana kind of concentration, or concentration born out of insight. As a person investigate on this Dhamma, they have some understanding, some insight, some sort of realization. Then the mind will experience some happiness first, followed by eventually some calm and peace. And this concentration will lead to an equanimous mind. So again, we talk about the 4 sublime states. So there is equanimity in terms of process. That means 4 sublime states. That means we practice equanimity. Like in our routine, we reflect on karma. That is one way to develop equanimity. And another way to develop equanimity is through wisdom. So if a person practices insight, they will eventually have equanimity. So that is the practice. Or another way is equanimity through the 3rd and 4th jhanas. So I'll show you the table later. Okay, so this is for insight. Okay, and in this same sutta, there's this sutta, Mettang Sutta, they talk about 7 factors of awakening. And if a person were to practice this loving kindness, I will read through this particular sentence. He may enter and remain in the beautiful liberation. So what is this beautiful liberation? Some people say enlightenment, or in the particular context, in the comment, at least the commentaries will tell you, this beautiful liberation is the 4th jhana, 4th level of concentration, not yet liberation yet. Yeah? Okay, and I tell you, monks, awareness released through goodwill has the beautiful, this liberation as its excellence. In the case of one who has penetrated to no higher release, that means if a person has not attained release, not yet liberated, they will experience this beautiful liberation, this term. Yeah? So this term is this 4th jhana. Okay, and that's for loving kindness. Okay, and so if a person practice jhana plus this insight, investigate impermanence, they will experience the 4th jhana. So earlier on, this loving kindness can only reach 1st jhana, Brahma's retinue. Yeah, 1st jhana only. Yeah, Brahma's retinue, 1st jhana. Yeah, 1st jhana plane. But if a person were to combine with insight, they can experience this 4th level of concentration. Okay, then the next one. Awareness released through compassion has the sphere of infinitude of space as its excellence. So that is for people who had not higher release. So infinite space is where? Yeah, infinite space is this one. Or this one, the chart cannot see. Okay, so infinite space is this one, the orange one. Infinite space and so on. So I'll show you a more detailed one later. Okay, then the next one, appreciative joy. If a person practice appreciative joy with insight, they can reach this infinitude of consciousness. That's the 6th level of concentration. So from infinitude of space onwards is this formless concentration. Okay, then you have this infinitude of consciousness, also another kind of formless concentration. And the last one, awareness released through equanimity, has the sphere of nothingness as its excellence for those who have not released. Yeah? So equanimity with insight can lead to this nothingness, sphere of nothingness. So you can find this in this Mettang Sutta. So there's an M behind after the Metta. So you can Google yourself and check this. Samyutta Nikaya 46.54. So what are all these jhanas we are talking about? So for those who have attended my first series of talks, um, these are the jhanas. Okay, so I'll show you a relation of all these jhanas first. Okay, so in Buddhism, we talk about right concentration as the Eightfold Path. So right concentration is defined as these 4 jhanas. First 4. How come the Buddha never mentioned 8? The Buddha only mentioned first 4. So they give you 50% discount. So already very good for first 4. But no worries, the practice of these 4 sublime states will lead you higher. So if let's say you do loving kindness with insight, it will lead you to this number 4, right? And if you do just loving kindness alone, without any insight, without any wisdom, it's just first level of concentration. And if a person practices compassion, it will be this second jhana. But if with insight, compassion can lead to this infinity of space, which is this 5th level of concentration. And likewise, for this appreciative joy, boundless appreciative joy can reach this 3rd level of concentration. And with insight, it will lead to this infinite consciousness. So there's we call transposition of 3 levels. 1, 2, 3. How it jump, I do not know, but it's just like that. So it won't go through level by level. It won't. You won't experience number 3, 4, 5, 6. So a person practices appreciative joy, experience 3rd level, and once they have insight, they will jump to number 6, infinite consciousness. And likewise, for equanimity, they'll experience this 4th jhana. So any meditation object that can reach equanimity will experience this 4th jhana as well. And but equanimity coupled with insight will reach this 7th jhana, this realm of nothingness. Realm of nothingness. So this nothingness is not the same as emptiness. It's just part of this concentration. All right, so these 4, number 5 to number 8, are considered formless concentrations, and these jhanas 1 to 4 are the form concentrations. So 5 to 8, the sensations will be very similar to what the name is given to them. Infinity of space, maybe a yogi will experience spaciousness, very wide, very spacious. Infinity of consciousness, they may experience the sense of self encompassing this entire space. And this nothingness, once they reach there, this consciousness will feel like it disappears, will feel like it's nothing. So the Buddha's first teacher, before he got enlightened, he went to this Alara Kalama, he taught this nothingness, which is probably his unique discovery at his time. So this nothingness, it's like they think it's emptiness, as though everything is gone. So that is not yet true enlightenment. It's still based on perception. And number 8, there's one more, we haven't touched this. This is one realm higher, it's called neither perception nor non-perception. So that is the supposedly highest jhana, and these are a total of 8 jhanas. So in any case, the Buddhist point of view is if a person just do any of these jhanas alone, without any wisdom, any insight, after they use up their karma, let's say any of these realms, they can be living in a very long lifetime, have very long lifespan, few hundred or thousands of kalpas. Once they use up their karma, if they do not generate enough good karma, they will downgrade. Depending on whatever karma that's left, they'll get reborn in some other realm. So if let's say they only have bad karma left, then they might end up in the lower realm, as animal, as a ghost, or even in hell realm. So that is the problem of this samsara. So we need this additional mindfulness or insight to contemplate on impermanence. So that is the whole idea. So again, to differentiate the four, like I mentioned, the experience of these four states of mind is very close to the label, but these first four will be defined with these emotions. So a lot of times people do not know how to differentiate what level of concentration they're in. They sit there and they enter a very calm, very peaceful, and then they come out, I don't know which level, I don't know what level. Right, so this is the issue. So this is like a chart to sort of help you identify. If you have like a very good mentor, a good teacher to guide you to sort of identify for you, then that's good. But if you want to have like a reference, then most of the suttas or the scriptures will mention first jhana, the first level of concentration. We'll have these few things: directed thought, evaluation. So, or some will translate initial and sustained thinking. That means there's still like some cluttering background thoughts, and you have this joy, and you have this pleasure. Some will translate as happiness. Sukha is the opposite of dukkha. Yeah? Dukkha means suffering. So sukha is something like a bit like the opposite. So we call happiness. And then singleness of mind, one-pointedness of mind. Some will translate as one-pointedness. And you find this one-pointedness throughout all the levels of concentration. So the mind needs to be calm and collected. So this is the singleness of mind. So a lot of times people think singleness means you need to focus at one spot. So like the example I gave earlier, let's say any child, let's say playing a video game, and their mind is focused on a screen, or let's say if you are using the handphone, we're focused on a screen, but that doesn't mean singleness of mind. The mind can be full of craving. Maybe you want to go shopping, and then you look at your phone, you want to buy this, want to buy that, you want to go look at, surf for this, surf for that, find this information, that information, look for entertainment. So the mind is not settled. So only when the mind is unified and settled down, then you have singleness of mind. So for the case of loving kindness, the mind is not restricted. Yeah? The mind is expanded. The mind is all directions. But the mind can enter jhanas though in loving kindness. So singleness of mind is the collection of the mind. When the mind is settled and collected, right? When the craving is reduced, then the mind will be collected. Okay, so it is independent of this area of attention. So that's the singleness of mind. Okay, so some people when they talk about watching the breath, some want to argue, watching the breath have to be one spot here. Some say one spot at abdomen. Some say the breath is a whole body. Actually, it doesn't matter. Yeah? Singleness of mind is the settling of the mind. So it doesn't matter where you place your attention as long as your mind can settle down. Okay, then second level of concentration, you see something's missing. This directed thought and evaluation will be missing. And some people will think, oh, second level of concentration, it means no thinking. No thinking, which is not really true. Like we mentioned earlier, every level of concentration, even the higher levels of concentration, do require lots of thinking. Right thought, right mindfulness is part of the equation. Okay, so you'll have this internal clarity. Once the sort of background cluttering is gone, you'll be much clearer. This joy and happiness will be clearer. It's the same emotion, yeah, but not so clear. It's quite muffled by these thoughts earlier on. So same thing, singleness of mind. And if a person reaches third level, something will be missing from the equation. This joy will be gone, so they will be left with happiness. So some people will want to differentiate. What's the difference between joy and happiness? So they enter first level, a very nice feeling. What? Second level, also very nice feeling. What? So cannot differentiate, right? So to differentiate, you need to enter the third level. So only by entering the third level, you have a different kind of nice feeling. So this third level of concentration, you have this sukha, which is this pleasure or happiness, but doesn't have joy. And it will introduce a bit of equanimity. A bit of equanimity. So the mind, you have a bit of equanimity. Again, you cannot differentiate because this pleasure is there. You cover up this equanimity. You'll have more mindfulness. So clarity will upgrade to mindfulness and more awareness. Yeah? And eventually, the fourth level of concentration will have equanimity, no more happiness. So from then on, you have like a very neutral kind of emotion. But this neutral emotion is not the normal kind of neutral emotion. Just like if we see something that we do not particularly like or dislike, we have a neutral emotion, neutral feeling. Right? So this equanimity here is not the same as our neutral feeling. So it is a very deep state of experience. So a person will experience neither pleasure nor pain, this equanimity. Not to say you have no feeling, not to say you become a robot. Some people will think, okay, once a person have this fourth level, you can try these stunts and get yourself injured. No. Okay, and purity of mindfulness. So the reason of right concentration defining as this four, because the fourth jhana will purify your mindfulness. Only when there's equanimity, then a person's mind won't get shaken by the eight winds. Pleasure, pain, happiness, what is it? Fame, defame, pleasure, pain, gain, loss, what's the next one? Praise and blame, right? So all these are the eight winds, the vicissitudes of life. It won't shake you too much. So only with this kind of objective mind, then you can investigate the Dhamma more effectively. So if the mind is easily shaken, if let's say a person doesn't have equanimity, and then we sit down and start to wish, may my parents be well and happy, then easily you start to drift away to the dramas. Or how was I with my parents? Or last time when I was young, I did this and this. We did do this and this together. How my parents do this to me. How I did this to my parents. Then you have all the dramas. Then you won't end up meditating. You end up daydreaming. So this is without equanimity. Yeah? So the mind is easily shaken, pulled away by sensual pleasure, pain or pleasure, pulled away. Yeah? So if a person has equanimity, then they won't be easily affected. So the thoughts may appear, but the mind have a bit of immunity, I would say, a temporary immunity. It's like, how do you call it? I don't know how to call it. Okay, there's a temporary kind of immunity when this is up. So it's like recharging a battery. So once you have this power for a while, this battery, it will last for a while. So using this opportunity, when the mind still has this particular kind of immunity, then one can investigate the six sense bases, all kinds of sense stimuli, do walking, do whatever it is, or even try, the more modern kind of loving kindness meditation, think of different classes of people, then you're able to see the different kinds of emotions, but not get affected. So from there, then you can see the nature, impermanence of the different contact. Okay, so this is my take on concentration and the practice, right, of these four sublime states. I leave some time for Q&A. Any questions for the moment?
Yes, Bhante, there are about 5 questions that came in just now.
Wow, okay.
So
Take a look.
yes, so the first one is, does it mean that right mindfulness is being more aware on whatever thoughts or sensations that arise or cease, while right concentration is being focused on a specific object, which hence eradicates all? distractions. This is what. Yes.
Okay, so the jhanic kind of samadhi is basically an imposition of the object of meditation. So, for example, like loving kindness, we keep on wishing all beings well and happy. So that is an imposition of an idea. So we keep on repeating and repeating and impose an idea. So it may not reflect reality. It may not reflect reality. So out there, or even right here, there is suffering. But we keep on wishing all beings free from suffering, or wish all beings well and happy. So that is an imposition of an idea. So that is practicing of the jhanic kind of concentration. Whereas the right mindfulness is a more objective kind of observation. You need to reflect. There's always arising and passing. There's birth and death. Things change and stuff like that. So there's more objective kind of investigation. So that is right mindfulness. Okay, so hopefully that answers the question.
Yes, Bhante. The next question is, how do you differentiate between persistence and stubbornness?
Okay, so persistence is, or right effort is with regard to wholesome states of mind. That means wholesome practice. So a person practice like loving kindness or compassion, you cannot call this stubbornness, yeah? You cannot call this stubbornness. But of course, you have to see context. If let's say you are captured by maybe gangsters or criminals, and they force you, you cannot be kind, you're too nice after they force you to behave nastily. If not, they will torture or kill you. So, in certain contexts, if you are stubborn and insist, okay, I need to be loving kind, I need to practice love and compassion, then you may be beaten up to death. Yeah? So sometimes we say use skillful means or practice some panya, some streetwise. You can be called acting. Acting, yeah. But of course, when they're gone, then you continue to be a nice person. Again, this is case by case basis. So very hard to differentiate. This world is a very messy and gray world. But as a monk, I'll give you a simplified answer. By all means, try right effort as much as possible. Stubbornness, in a simplified sense, would be more like negative kind of behavior. If a person wants to insist carrying on a negative kind of behavior, that would be like stubbornness. Okay. Then next one would be, how do we know we are on the right progress? If you're more calm, you're more peaceful, more happy, that means you're on the right track. If you're more stressed, more tensed up, then something is wrong. That means more craving. Yeah. So the practice of Four Noble Truths is to overcome this suffering. So the longer you sit, the more suffering you have, then you're practicing suffering meditation. You're not practicing Four Noble Truths. It's only one Noble Truth. Only suffering. Okay. Then the next one. What are the characteristics of goodwill? Okay, so if you wish all beings well and happy all the time, then that will be the characteristics of goodwill. So it's an experiential kind of characteristics. It's to overcome aversion. That's the whole idea. Okay, then what's the difference between piti and sukha? Joy and happiness. So again, a person needs to transit between the second and the third level of concentration to experience this piti and sukha. All right, and again, there is insight kind of joy. That would be if a person keep observing impermanence until they let go, and if the sudden joy arises from the 7 factors of enlightenment, that will be this piti, Dhamma piti. Dhamma kind of joy. So that would be stronger, whereas happiness will be more subtle. Piti will be more be a stronger sensation. Sukha is a bit more subtle. Okay, then the next question. What is the difference between mindfulness and awareness in the third jhana column? Okay, so actually that table is classified by this Venerable Gunaratana from America. He's a Sri Lankan monk based in America. In most of the suttas formula, they will just mention happiness, equanimity, and one-pointedness in the third level of concentration, in the third jhana. So actually all levels of concentration require mindfulness. It's part of this Chittanusati, mindfulness of the states of mind. So a person needs to be aware whether the mind is concentrated or unconcentrated. So it's part of this mindfulness. You need to know. And of course, in that particular sutta, mindfulness sutta, you need to be aware that this concentration is also impermanent. A lot of meditators, once they have a still mind, they want to stay there. Very nice, very still, they want to stay there. They want to rest. So once you rest there, that means gone. Our default programming, the defilement in us will naturally have the delusion to believe that this is permanent. So we need to deliberately reflect this is impermanent. Yeah? So this is the whole idea of mindfulness. So the awareness, I would say, is a byproduct of mindfulness. As long as a person is always mindful of impermanence, they will purify this awareness. Because awareness have a different spectrum. It's just like this, the Abhidhamma have the different states of mind. So you have different kinds of consciousness, yeah? Depending on how well we progress. Okay, then somebody asked another question. How should one view work, one's job? Yeah? Is it right thinking to think that earning money is for sharing with family and giving to society? So again, we need to couple with right view and right thought. If we do not have right intention, we do not do it for the welfare of all beings, then again, you can have some positive motive to help your family and so on, which is a good thing, of course. But if you want to make it like a right livelihood, then you should also couple with right intention. All right. So nothing wrong with financial planning. Any financial planners here? Okay, but everyone needs to manage their finances, right? Because if you work, you need to manage your finances. So that will be another teaching. The Buddha taught this Sigalovada and also this Digajanu, how to manage their finances. Lay people, and one of them is like a businessman. How to invest their money also. So you need to differentiate. We have this, we call this mundane and supramundane dharmas. It means mundane truth, mundane path to peace, or mundane path to happiness, which is your financial planning, how to make yourself not hungry, how to help yourself, your family, and your society. So that is mundane dharmas, mundane happiness. And you also need to have supramundane happiness. Now, how do you reflect in a way that you can have a peaceful state of mind? So you need both, or you need to balance both. Yeah. So for monastics, we reduce on the mundane dharmas. We go full time, not working for money. So we just focus more on the supramundane dharmas. Yeah. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, if not, we go for a 5-minute break. Then the same thing, we come back for a bit of practical session. Hopefully, for those who hadn't joined in last week, then you can experience. For those who attended last week's session, maybe you can reconfirm what the suttas say, what this level, that level of concentration, whether you can identify them. If you can't, never mind, practice more. Then hopefully see you back in 5 minutes time. Yeah.
Bante, can I have a question?
Bante has gone for break. Maybe
You
5
go
minutes
for break,
later.
huh? Okay.
Yeah. 5 minutes later.
Okay. Okay, sure.
Okay, a few more seconds. Okay, 5 minutes up. Is everyone back? So during the 5-minute break, are you all able to practice maintaining this mindfulness of loving kindness? Or is everything gone? Okay, so now we try to do a bit of R&D, like this sitting or formal sitting is a bit like R&D, yeah? But actual practice, it's a whole day round.
We'll wait for a while, okay? I think Dante's connections and the got cut off.
Sorry, my connection is impermanent. Okay, so I'm back again. Okay, so we continue the sitting. So what we are doing is start off with sharpening this mindfulness, and we start off with identifying, understand, sort of before you want to reach out to all beings, understand a bit of what is in this self, or is there a kind of self to hold on? So we first observe the sensations throughout the whole body. We call this the 4 elements. So what are these 4 elements? And the earth, fire, wind, and water. Earth represents any hard and soft sensations. Fire is hot and cold. Wind is fast and slow movements. And water, moist or dry. So basically, when we wish all the sensations in the body well and happy, whatever sensation that arise, we wish them well and happy. So no need to control these sensations, no need to deliberately create them. We let it appear real time. So this real time observation or your real time evidence. New sensation arise, well and happy. New sensation arise, well and happy. whole idea is repetition. Huh? Once you stop repetition, then the mind will get pulled away by the ups and downs, the currents and tides of the various sensations. So we keep maintaining course while rowing the boat. In Buddhism, we always say rowing the boat to the other shore. So it's part of the process, still traveling. And whenever we generate right thought, we are rowing once, and we need to keep paddling the boat. So by wishing all these sensations well and happy, the mind will calm down to a certain extent. So this calm state of mind is a neutral baseline. No jhanas yet, no level of concentration yet. Just for you to take note, for reference. If later on there's any increase in peace or happiness, something deeper, then that would consider. So now this is just baseline. So now we start to wish all beings in all directions well and happy, above, below, all across. No need to deliberately push your mind, no, let it extend naturally by itself, and no need to visualize. And this is more of a sensation kind of routine. So when the mind extends, it will naturally encompass all the sentient beings along the way. And however far the mind wishes to extend, and that will be your universe. Okay, and within that field of attention, right, earlier on we experienced all these sensations. All sentient beings also experience all these sensations. They are made of the 4 elements, 5 aggregates. So whenever you detect a new sensation, we wish all beings well and happy. So we change the phrasing a bit. The first 2 important words, all beings. And so you wish all beings well and happy. So a new sensation arise, all beings well and happy. New sensation arise, we wish all beings well and happy. So whatever you experience, just treat them as passing sceneries. Keep rowing the boat, wish all beings well and happy. Even though the storm is calmer or the currents are calmer, continue to wish all beings well and happy. Never leave the boat idle and drifting around. And next we add some insight. So this is just loving kindness that leads to concentration. So we add some insight. We start to observe impermanence. All beings, all formations arise and pass away every moment. So you keep observing all these sensations, how they appear, how they disappear, and mentally we keep reflecting on impermanence. The whole idea is to take note of the process. If there's any detachment, if there's letting go, then joy should arise naturally by itself. And whatever happen, just treat them as passing scenery, keep on rowing the boat, keep reflecting on impermanence. Okay, and for those who are very still, very calm, or whatever you experience, keep on mindful of impermanence. So this is using loving kindness to cultivate some concentration and insight. And if you don't feel any happy or joyful emotion, but it's neutral and uplifting, and that's probably equanimity. Yeah? Okay, then we move on to the second sublime state, which is compassion. So for compassion, we wish all beings, may they be free from suffering. So similarly, no over-imagination or speculation. We just perceive all beings as the common denominator, which is they are made of all these elements and aggregates. And these aggregates and elements are subject to clinging and suffering. So whenever we detect a new sensation, we wish all beings free from suffering. So new sensation arise, all beings free from suffering. New sensation arise, all beings free from suffering.
Bante, this is Jill. Can I ask a question?
You can type the
Okay.
question here.
Okay. Regarding this fifth jhana of infinite space, fifth jhana of infinite space, is this
Can you
infinite?
type the question?
Okay, sure.
The rest, yeah, meditating. Yeah, keep wishing all sensations, all beings free from suffering. If your mind is rather settled down, and if you start to experience some joy or happiness, and that would probably indicate the mind is experiencing the second level of concentration. And some people think, compassion, how can I have joy or happiness one? So this is the concentrative kind of compassion. So the mind will have some stability and not get carried away by the sufferings of the world or from your own thoughts. Okay, and next we are going to add some insight, and we are going to reflect how to overcome this suffering. We need to shake off this attachment. So all beings or formations, they arise and pass away. So every moment, observe arising and passing. So the same thing, whatever you experience, treat them as passing sceneries, always mindful of impermanence. Keep rowing the boat. So you start to feel a sense of spaciousness, then that would fit the description of perception of space. So this space is not the same as emptiness. Huh? So what is emptiness? Emptiness has two definitions. One is a process of contemplation that leads to the end product, and the end product of emptiness would be the devoid of craving. And away from the five aggregates. So this perception of space is still part of the five aggregates. As long as our mind don't apply skillful thoughts, we just idle and cling on to this spacious feeling, and that itself is clinging and suffering. The whole idea is not to chase these sceneries also. not to chase after the equanimity, not to chase after the spaciousness. Keep paddling the boat, mindful of impermanence. Everything is bonus. Everything else is side view. Okay, and due to time constraint, same gentle reminder before we conclude. As long as we can maintain these boundless sublime states, be it standing, sitting, walking, or lying down. And this is the noble living. Huh? Okay, and with that, we can gently open our eyes. And even though we open our eyes, still can generate right thought. Okay, so we leave some time for Q&A. So I guess I've answered Jill's question on the fifth jhana. So that is infinite space here is not the same as emptiness. Although one can reflect on emptiness at any stage, even when a person is not in concentration, our daily senses, seeing, smelling, tasting, hearing, one can reflect on emptiness as well. So there is a process of contemplation, and the emptiness as an end product would be like nibbana or enlightenment, which is devoid of formations and craving. So that is a different kind of emptiness. Okay.
Sorry, Bhante, can I ask?
Yeah.
Just now during your meditation instructions, right? You will say like when there's any sensation that arises, then like reflect on, like you send a wish that all beings are like for example, are free from suffering. So sensation, is it like anything you feel, like anything you hear, anything?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Then you also had another line saying like, reflect on impermanence. So like, is it the reflect on the body's impermanence? Because like I don't know which one to do. Is it like the whenever I feel something? Yeah.
Yeah, so we stick to the sensations and the four elements. So anything like the tension or density of the sensation, are they the same all the time? The heat, is it the same all the time? Is it moving or is it still? Right, so you need to reflect with impermanence.
Okay.
So there's one aspect of observation, and the other aspect is to reflect.
Okay. So when there's a sensation, we send compassion, like wish that everyone be free from suffering. Also reflect that this sensation is impermanent.
Yeah, the impermanent part is the second part. Yeah.
Okay. Understand. Thank you, Bhante.
Okay, no problem.
Bhante, I think there's another question.
Okay,
Sister Erin asked, could you please recommend resources where we could learn more about the Noble Eightfold Path, which we can apply in life? Thank you.
Wow, okay. Share resources. I have another talk on YouTube, which is quite long. But resource-wise, wow, okay. Mostly I refer to suttas nowadays. So you can check this, the four foundations of mindfulness, and this sutta. Yeah, so that would quite summarize practice in that you can apply in daily life. But again, the best is you learn from a teacher. Yeah, because reading on yourself, you may interpret one way, and whereas let's say a different practitioner may interpret another different way. So initially or originally Buddhism is supposedly oral tradition. So by right, the student and the teacher, when they sort of recite the teaching, and any doubt the student can ask the teacher, and the teacher will correct the student. So nowadays it's put on writing, everybody read on their own, and you have all different kinds of interpretations. Okay, anyone else or any announcements from the organizers?
Monday, I have a question, a quick one. When we're doing the meditation, and then we're trying to get into concentration, right? Then someone opened the door and you got a shock. Is it because the concentration is not enough, or you're too concentrated?
Normally, if a person get a shock, means they are too quiet. That means they don't, there's not enough wakefulness. That means either they probably fall asleep or something, too quiet. Then when somebody make a noise, then they get shocked. Yeah. So if a person is always generating this right thought, right effort all the time, these chances will reduce.
Okay, thank you, Bante.
Okay, no problem. Nine jhanas classification level, there's a question, right? Is it post-canonical sources compared to the 8? Okay, so there are, the 9 levels can mean 2 things. If it is from the Abhidharma, they switch the 4 jhanas to 5 jhanas. So that would explain maybe the 9 jhanas. Or another way is the commentaries, if they comment straight away from the suttas, they comment cessation as the 9th jhana. So the first to 8 is still the same, then after 8 is this cessation or this nirodha, and they classify the nirodha as the 9th jhana. So it depends on which context you're looking at.